Well, good morning, and you join me on the next day of my San Francisco trip. Slept reasonably well, actually. It wasn't a bad night's sleep at all. I think I had about a reasonable amount. I can't say how many hours I had, although it's about sort of 7:45 now. So I didn't sleep any worse than I would normally do at home.
Pass the tickets out to the other members of your party. Each visitor will need their own ticket when entering the boarding gate.
Well, now that extraordinary long briefing is out of the way, we were finally boarding the boat over to Alcatraz Island. Sunglasses in tow. I don't think the GoPro is really doing the view justice of the Bay Bridge here. It was a stunning view, and if you were sat on the other side of the boat, you had a equally or perhaps more breathtaking view of the city, but not to worry, we will see that on the return trip later on.
Well, that's on the island. That's used the most disgusting portaloo in the world. There's none of the toilets work. That was not really the best welcome, but yeah, we're just hiking up the hill to the I think where the sail house tour starts, which is just up the hill, which is apparently equivalent to 13 flights of stairs, so they say.
I hope it goes without saying, for those who don't know me, this is the first time I've been to a prison in my life.
I'd want to be taking a shower there, if I'm honest.
Alcatraz was quite a hardcore prison. It was essentially the last place you would go if there was no hope for rehabilitation. And as you can see, the conditions here are pretty bleak and not somewhere you really want to be spending your life.
Well, for what's meant to be a recreation yard, it's a far cry from the gym I'm used to at home. God, it just looks so depressing. God.
What you're seeing here is effectively the main admin building, which does lead into the sail house as well, and the Alcatraz Lighthouse, which does actually still operate to this day. Although it is fully automated these days rather than requiring an operator.
City, just over in the direction. And it's going to be windy. And then over there is the Golden Gate Bridge.
I also took some time to explore the other ancillary areas of the island. So here we've got the power plant, which is quite interesting because the island doesn't actually consume power from the mainland. It does require its own power source, and considering actually working the energy industry back home, it's just quite interesting seeing the scale of a power plant for a small island versus maybe a much bigger station that I'm used to seeing, which is designed to power millions of homes rather than just one giant sail house. The building does have a big diesel generator in here, although the island is powered by solar on sunny days, such as this. And following my little exploration around the power plant area, it was time to head back towards the city, with a view of Golden Gate Bridge just in the distance there. I was on the right side of the boat this time to get a view of the city as well. And as I'm sure you will agree, it's pretty breathtaking.
Well, whenever possible, particularly on fairway.
back over at Pier 33. So got myself off the ship now, and I'm going to try and find some lunch somewhere. I've actually decided I'm going to have a bigger lunch, and then probably a lighter snack later on. And in this sort of area here, it seems to market fish and chips as being the going meal, so that may very well be what I have for lunch. For hopefully obvious reasons, I will keep this video non-political, but it was an interesting highlight of the walk to go and get lunch. Well, we're at the Eagle Cafe, and I have ordered some fish and chips and have a lemonade. I have to say, the lemonade here is always much better than you get back home. They actually have proper lemonade rather than the dreaded Sprite that you always get when you order it back home. It actually tastes authentic. Yeah, look at the view as well. The waiter did say to me when I walked in, so it was a bit cold out there, but the view's good. Although for me, this isn't actually cold at all, it's actually quite warm. Oh, you look at that. It's not a bad effort for fish and chips, I say. I think we'll give it a taste and see how it is. That's awesome. Not a bad fish and chips. It's not going to exactly replicate the chip shop experience you have back home, but for a restaurant, actually, this is pretty cool. So one of the things that I often get asked by people when I'm actually out travelling is how do you deal with the eating on your own piece? And actually one of the best ways to handle that is sitting somewhere like this, and you can sort of see how it's laid out, where I've got sort of like a bar stool around that. So it's a little bit less awkward than sitting at a table by yourself. And also going for lunchtime can be another sort of tip of mine as well. Generally, when you're out during the sort of lunchtime hours having your main meal, you tend to have less of a formal atmosphere. It's a bit more chilled. You know, the people that are out and about tend to be a bit more chilled as well. So it's less of that formal couples on dates or families out eating kind of thing. It's more people just out and about milling around. So different vibe. So that's another way to perhaps help overcome the eating by yourself fear thing. Or once you've done it once or twice, it's not actually that bad at all. And when you get some good food like this, it's pretty good. Well, I think that says it all. Yeah, delicious. It's quite interesting that I'm the only one out here now. I think everyone else is finding it a bit too cold and windy, whereas for me, well, one of the main reasons I came here was to escape the cloud and the rain and come and enjoy the sun. So for me, I want to spend every minute I can outside. The Pier 39 area's got a mixture of more benign shops and yeah, some slightly wacky shops as well, depending on what you want to buy. I did manage to get my younger brother a little cable car toy thing. Yeah, it's a pleasant enough place to spend a couple of hours, have a look around, see the sea lions. I'm not 100% sure what drew me to this submarine museum, but, well, it was interesting to see. We have what is apparently a World War II era submarine, which looks very different to the modern nuclear submarines that our militaries have today. It just shows how things are. It looks more like a ship than a submarine, but I don't really think these were designed for going as deep as modern submarines are.
Well, that says at the sort of maritime park here, and I just want to have a bit of a wander around just to see some of the history about specifically some of the fishing trade that's been going on here, hence why you have Fisherman's Wharf just up there. And it's just quite interesting really seeing how that's contributed to the local economy over the years, and yeah, just admiring the again some of the sun while we have it. So yeah, very much my plan now is I'm going to go and have a look at is it Lombard Street? I think that's the famous one that's got a bit of a funny shape to it. Well, my original plan was to cable car it up the hill. The queue is massive, so I've decided I'm going to walk it instead. And you know, it's not actually too bad. I actually much prefer this to standing still in the queue. So my cable car aspirations might have to be addressed at a slightly different time. But this will get us towards Lombard Street, and I might have a little nosy, as one of my colleagues did tell me about this, but he did actually dare me to drive on it, as well if I was getting a hire car, which I could try tomorrow, time permitting. To be fair, I have done worse than this, it's not that bad. I'm used to hiking.
Se ve más bonito en el carro. ¿Sí, verdad? Yo sí lo bajaba. Ya de abajo tomamos una foto.
Yeah, I do actually wonder how many people driving down there actually live here, or whether it's all just tourists with the hire cars doing it. He's texting on his phone there, so he's obviously paying attention. I think it's actually legal here, but obviously in the UK you get quite a large fine and points on your licence for that. It was actually just quite funny. Somebody actually tried to back their car out of here. They sort of decided it wasn't for them, and then the security guard came and told not to back out. Like, make sure you go down. So the fact they have to have a security guarding this street says a lot about people's confidence driving down here. A lot of Teslas as well, especially Model X's. Seems to be the most favourite model certainly in San Francisco. It actually seems quite harmless in the bottom. So yeah, maybe I will give it a go tomorrow, drive down the road and see how we get on. Doesn't look too hard to do. Time for another coffee. One thing you'll learn about me very quickly is that I have a very strong caffeine addiction. Right, well, that's my caffeine hit done for probably my last caffeine hit of the day. Actually, the main reason really for going there is so I can find somewhere to charge my phone, because I don't actually have a power bank. Keep meaning to buy one, keep forgetting, so I sort of just bought the charging cable and I thought I'll find somewhere to charge. So that'll keep me going for a few more hours, and because I shouldn't have to actually go back to the hotel now until much later on, otherwise I would have had to pop that there in charge, so it saves that hassle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to venture towards, so I'm actually on Columbus Avenue at the moment, I'm going to venture towards Chinatown, I think. Going to have a bit of a look there. Apparently it's just worth having a look. I'm not really sure what to expect, and apparently it can be a bit of a different vibe when you go there because of the population so that tend to live there. So yeah, we're going to have a little mosey and see what's there.
just in case I need reminding what my name is. I'm gonna have a street named after me, look. Maybe. This here will be the Dragon Gate where Chinatown officially starts. And we've just walked all along there. I think most of it's probably closed now, so I'm going to be a bit late, but I think those souvenir shops probably stay open pretty late, which is probably why that's mostly what I'm walking into. But I expect during the day it's probably a lot more. There's quite a few like coffee and tea outlets and stuff where you can get perhaps beverages that adhere to the culture more. But what's quite interesting here is you see how a lot of the major banks and businesses, that even though they're American businesses, they still have Chinese text on the signs, and that's presumably because a lot of the population here, probably because they are of Chinese origin, you know, may not necessarily understand English. So you can see how this whole area is kind of adapted to suit that population. So it is like you're coming into another world. Like compared to the rest of the city here, it is quite distinctive. That's what I find. So yeah, definitely worth a visit. So what you're seeing in front of me is my food strategy for this evening, which is going to be Whole Foods. So I'm hoping I get a sandwich or something relatively light there. The only thing about getting around the city is that you spend half your time waiting for the crossings to change. It seems to be so inefficient. As I'd had quite an elaborate lunch earlier that day, I was still feeling a little bit full, so it was a slightly less elaborate dinner, but it was fine. Whole Foods is good. Well, at least we've got our protein in anyway. Actually, the beet salad was pleasantly tasty, considering I'd managed my expectations appropriately for a pre-prepared meal, and it was just what I wanted after that rather large lunch earlier. And with that in mind, it was off back to the hotel for an early-ish night. As part of my mission to diversify my sock collection, I also took a sneaky peek to have a look at what socks sunny San Francisco had to offer on the way back to the hotel. That is us back at the hotel, and as you can see, I actually ended up having dinner in Whole Foods, but it was actually the right kind of thing. That salad and that bit of Greek yogurt was actually the right thing to have. Try to have a little bit more protein than I've probably had all day. I probably had a lot of carbs and not a lot of protein, so I thought I'll try and get a bit more protein in. And have something reasonably light as well, which is what I had. So yeah, back at the hotel, I'm just gonna. I seem to have quite a lot of red on my forehead there, and I don't know whether that's where I've forgotten to apply the sunscreen or something, so I might have to try and be a little bit more thorough with that area tomorrow. That's kind of where I wish I had hair there rather than skin, but there we go. I don't think I've got to come off too badly. I think the rest of my body I seem to be all right in terms of sunburns. I think maybe just watch my forehead tomorrow, so at least when I go back home on the weekend, people are going to notice my red forehead. And then yeah, I'll be up early tomorrow. We'll go and grab the hire car. I hope that should be quite straightforward, and then we'll make our way over to the Mule Woods, that national monument there, and yeah, hopefully try and do a little bit of hiking around there, and yeah, we'll see how we go. I'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.